In 1919, Weimar Germany was in political turmoil, as shown by the following 4 years. 4 revolutions, 2 left-wing, 2 extremist right. There is one huge tug for power, all a result of a weak government and an increasingly angry population. But was there any success? Or did the government manage to take back control? The day is the 12th of January 1919. You're one of the 5,000 people occupying the telegraph office and newspaper buildings, on strike for what you believe in, emulating Russia in trying to force a socialist communist revolution. However, not everything is going to plan. Organisation is poor, you haven't heard from your leader in days, you aren't gaining much popularity either. Unfortunately, the Spartacists aren't sweeping the nation as initially expected. And biggest of all, the strike has posed minimal impact. In other words, a failure. Or perhaps you're a German citizen gripped with fear in the wake of a march of 5,000 ex-army soldiers heading to Berlin led by Dr. Kapp. Your own government has even fled. Organisation is great and Dr. Kapp seems as determined as ever, an extreme nationalist setting himself up as head of state. But then, to everyone's surprise, Berlin grinds to a halt. Passive resistance by the Berliners has left it impossible for them to do anything, fleeing abroad allowing the government back. It was an incredibly dangerous threat narrowly avoided. Now let us take you to just one day after the Kapp uprising to the Red Raw Rising. Staged in many difficult areas of industrial activity, 50,000 workers had hoped to grind everything to a halt just like the Berliners had. However, communication between the multiple leaders was poor, leaving the workers with no clear plan to work with. Once again, the Frikers were called in to put the revolution down, and while workers did stop productivity for a couple of weeks, nothing but a minimal economic impact was caused. Everyone has heard of Adolf Hitler, but not everyone has heard of the Munich Putsch, perhaps a display of Hitler's inexperience and naivety. In November 1923, he planned on forcing the government to join forces with him and the Nationalist Party, which initially did go well until he let one member go. He was able to then sound the alarm, giving the Nationalists a nasty surprise when marching down the street and encountering the police. Hitler expected them to surrender, but they didn't, and instead opened fire, killing 16 Nationalists. Lack of organisation led to Hitler's arrest. However, despite the calamity of this, it went on to be the springboard for Hitler's political career. So maybe none of the uprisings did succeed initially. However, it was clear that the government was never going to last. Too much appeasement with fatal flaws meant that nobody was happy, hence why there was so much opposition. And although it looked like they caused very minimal impacts, the trials after the Munich Putsch shaped the political landscape for the next 2 decades, leading to the rise of the Nazis.